these shows, and I only remember to come up with one right as I'm trying to sign off from the show. But I don't have one, and I don't remember what John usually says. What is it? Was like stay safe, stay sane, stay something else that starts with an S. He's a big fan of alliteration, which I respect. I like that about him. But for me, just bye. That's our show. Take care.
welcome. It's indisputable. I'm your host, Rashad Ritchie. Good to be with you. We have a lot on the agenda today, breaking down news of the day. None other than the mayor of Enfield, North Carolina, our dear brother, Mayor Mondale Robinson, who's also founder of the Black Male Voter Project and Rebel HQ contributor All-Star. Always fascinating to have his analysis. First story of the day. Cops decide to harass, kick, punch, tase an individual on a bicycle, and their police report betrays them. Here it is.
Taser, taser, taser! Put your hands behind your back! Put your hands behind your back! Put your hands behind your back! Stop! Stop! Put your hands behind your back! 212, Mississippi and Get over here. Put your hands behind your back. Give me your hands. Give me your hands. Put your hands behind your back. Oh my God, dude. Give me your hands. I got it. Give me your hands. Get it. If you kick me, we're gonna have a problem.
What do I being stopped for? Why am I being stopped? Because I smoked a cigarette on the campus?
No, because you didn't listen to my commands. That's why.
I fell over. I'm scared to death of y'all, man. Last time you guys broke my jaw in 4 places. Oh my God.
Trying to run ain't a good way to fix that.
I fell over. Why am I being stopped?
Piss off. No, he's okay.
And then the police tried to wave a resident away from observing them. There's more video. Here it is.
This
I
pocket.
got another one in the other pocket. Why am I being stopped? It's in my other pocket.
What's in your other pocket?
Because you were trespassing on the campus.
I was just passing through and I stopped to smoke a cigarette, dude. That's all. They showed me to leave. I left. I was leaving. There's no reason to treat me like this, dude.
Well, when I tell you to stop, you gotta stop.
I fell over.
Because I'm investigating.
I fell over.
You started riding away from me until you saw the other police car.
Oh my God, ow.
All right, sit up.
Sit up. I am. You guys are insane.
I want to show you the screenshot of the man with his hands clearly visible. He is clearly in compliance. And it is at this point, the officers decide to clearly tase him, kick him, punch him. Marcus Adams, what they describe as protective actions against Marcus Adams, because according to the police in Lakeland, Florida, he was not complying with their orders during an incident earlier this year. But a recently released body camera video indicates they are in fact lying their ass off. Here it is, and that's not the surprising part, considering the police department has a long history of abusive behavior caught on camera. The latest incident to surface took place on February 7th, after Mr. Adams was simply riding his bicycle on the campus of Florida Southern College and decided to stop and smoke a cigarette. A security guard ordered him to leave the area, which he did. He complied. He was already off the college campus and riding his bicycle down a residential street when multiple Lakeland police officers pulled up and ordered him to stop. Now, the fact that he is not on the campus is his evidence he committed no criminal trespass. In order for it to be criminal trespass, he must first be warned that he is in fact trespassing. Given the opportunity to leave and violate that part. The fact he was not on the campus means no prerequisite crime took place for the law enforcement interaction. So the video obtained by WTSP News shows he slowed the bicycle in an apparent attempt to listen to their commands, and he fell while slowing the bicycle. He fell sideways on a patch of grass, which was when the cops decided to pounce on him, taser him, kick his legs, plant their knee on his back, and strike him multiple times in the face with their forearms. Quote, "What am I being stopped for? Why am I being stopped because of a cigarette on the campus? Question mark, Adams asked. Officer responds, no, because you didn't listen to my commands. That's why, end quote. Adams is 36 years of age. He was charged with trespassing on school grounds. The cop just said he wasn't being harassed for trespassing, but he charged him with trespassing on school grounds, possession of methamphetamine, possession of drug paraphernalia, assault on a law enforcement officer, and resisting an officer without violence, according to the arrest report. But he had already left the campus, and there is no evidence on the video he assaulted a police officer or that he refused their commands. Even though he acknowledges the methamphetamine and drug paraphernalia in his backpack, he does not believe that justifies the abusive actions of the police officers. But Lakeland police are still clinging to the narrative that he deserved to be beaten because he did not follow their commands fast enough. Now, there are some who are going to look at this and say, well, because he uses illegal drugs, this was still brought upon himself. Let's be very clear. He may have a substance abuse problem. That is a disease. That's an addiction. I hope he gets help for it, if so. But likely in the Lakeland community, this case is going to be dismissed because everything is bad fruit now. Because the original reason stated for law enforcement interaction doesn't exist. He committed no criminal trespass. So everything you get beyond that becomes, well, up to dismissal. It becomes a dismissal. Now, he may have to get an attorney to do so, but guaranteed, this is not open and shut. There's more. So, quote, had Mr. Adams complied with the officer's directives, Lakeland police explained in a statement, this incident would not have resulted in protective actions. Protective. Now, the man was on his back with his hands up because he fell off a bicycle. Protective actions taken by the officers. But what police describe as protective actions is being described as police abuse by attorney Bobby DiCello. So attorney DiCello, whose law firm has sued multiple police agencies throughout the country, quote, these empty promises of changes, these empty promises of a community that can work together are over, DiCello told a group of citizens during a community meeting earlier this month, according to WTSP Local. Quote, I promise you that the work we will do together will change this, as we've changed in other cities that we've been in. New legislation, new oversight requirements for your police department. That's on the way, the attorney added. But since that meeting, the latest video has surfaced revealing an ugly pattern of abuse for the police department that oversees a city of 120,000 plus people, about 35 miles east of Tampa. Quote, well, immediately, when I look at the video, I think of all the other cases that we've been dealing with Lakeland and saying, this is the same pattern. Pastor Clayton Cowart of the Poor Minority Justice Association told the local news, who has been calling about the abuse for years. Quote, this is the same situation. Now we've seen black, we've seen white. It's the culture. There you go, Pastor. It is the culture. Once again, as I say often, you can have a policy. Culture eats policy alive every day of the week. There's more. Previous incident, less than 2 months ago. I'm giving you the background of this police department. Less than 2 months ago, during a Memorial Day weekend pool party at an apartment complex, Lakeland police officers were caught on video beating and tasering a 16-year-old black child named Jamal Hudson after they claimed the 16-year-old assaulted them. But the video recorded by a witness does not show that. And all charges were dismissed against him less than 2 weeks later. That's according to Fox 13 News. Police claimed in their arrest report that they were called to an apartment complex about people swimming in the community pool who did not live there. Once there, they ordered everybody to leave. But they claimed Mr. Jamal Hudson refused their commands and even placed his hand in front of the face of one of the cops, telling him, "I don't have to talk to you," which, by the way, is his constitutional right. However, what police neglected to say in their report is that one of the officers began mocking the young Hudson's weight, telling him he should be next door in the gym instead of at the pool. Hudson, who weighs 374 pounds and is 6 feet tall, said he was offended by that remark, placed his hand in front of the officer's face, telling him he didn't want to hear any more from the officer because he was already leaving the pool. That was when the cop decided to arrest him. And then there's an incident report as well. So I gave Hudson several more lawful orders to exit the property or he would be arrested. Hudson continued to ignore my verbal commands and stuck his hand in my face while stating, "I don't have to talk to you." End quote. I decided at this time to take Hudson into custody for trespassing. Once again, once you're told you have to leave by the police and you leave, that's not trespass. I attempted to grab Hudson by his arm, but he immediately tensed his body and attempted to pull away from my grasp. I informed Hudson he was under arrest and to stop resisting. I was able to maintain control of Hudson as I guided him toward the wall. Hudson began to flail his arms toward Officer Diaz, number 329, and I, almost striking us in our facial area several times. Hudson struck me in my facial area one time with his closed fist. However, if any of that was true, it's very unlikely charges would have been dismissed less than 2 weeks later. 2 weeks later, all charges dismissed. You don't punch the police and just get charges dismissed unless the police lied about the punching. There's more. Third incident, yet another, in which Lakeland police were caught on video beating and tasering a black man, only to claim he had attacked them first. You see the narrative here. Led to charges being what? Dismissed totally against the man more than a year later because the arresting officers had, as they called it in the prosecution's office, credibility issues. Lakeland police pulled over Antoine Glover December 2022 for not wearing a seatbelt, then ordered him out of his car after the cops spotted marijuana in his vehicle. When he tried to explain he had a legal medical marijuana license, the cops accused him of possibly having a gun in his satchel, which led to a physical altercation. But the video only shows them punching and tasering him and does not show Glover assaulting them as they claimed in their official report. But he was still charged. 3 counts of battery on a law enforcement officer, 1 count of resisting arrest with violence, felony charges that could have led to serious prison time for the 37-year-old man. They could have ruined his entire natural life. Prosecutors dismissed the case in May because they did not want to call the arresting officers on the witness stand for apparent, once again, credibility issues, including the fact that all 3 of the 4 cops were on administrative leave because they were being investigated for an unrelated incident, according to WFLA News. They weren't even supposed to be on the damn job. That's called culture of corruption. That's called police chief, sergeant, captain, major. Everybody in command is down with this program. Nowhere in the hell 3 individuals out of 4 who are supposed to be on administrative leave because they're currently under investigation get to still beat people up and tase them, and then get to put their names on police reports. There's more. Pastor Coward of the Poor Minority Justice Association has been trying for years to hold this police department accountable. Little success has come. In January 2023, he organized a community meeting to demand justice and announced he had asked the Federal Department of Justice to investigate the police department. However, more than a year later, the Justice Department has shown little interest. We hope that changes now. Quote, we filled out some paperwork with the Department of Justice. We want to see an investigation of some of the policies and practices of the Lakeland Police Department, the pastor told WTSP News. Quote, these sorts of investigations would allow them to come down and look at all of the components of the Lakeland Police Department and see if there is any racial bias, racism, and things of that sort that's going on internally, Coward added. Adverse police practices are here, obviously. Criminal action has taken place by way of these cops because you don't get to legally assault citizens because you have on a uniform. And also, when the prosecution says the cops have credibility issues, what they're saying is they lied on the police report. That is a chargeable offense. That's violation of oath of office, providing a false statement, obstruction of justice. These things are easier to do when you have people willing to hold the powerful accountable. All right, Mr. Mayor, makes my blood boil. What are your thoughts?
Absolutely disgusting. This department needs to be disbanded like so many others across this country. And the Justice Department sitting silent is allowing people to continue to be terrorized by people in uniform that are getting paid by tax dollars. I will say one thing, Doc, that you left out. On all the people that you said were responsible in charge, you said the captain, the major, the chief. You forgot the mayor.
That's right. Yep.
You forgot the mayor and the board right there, because all of those people hired us police chief. And it is absolutely disgusting that they see this. And it's blaring. I mean, just from the past incidents, and then it's they have a code. Just say they resisted arrest, say they were violent, then say they didn't listen to your command. This man is laying on the ground with his hands up, and you're tasing him, asking him to put his hand behind his back. Anybody that's ever felt those taser prongs know damn well you cannot put your hands behind your back when you're being tased. All you can do is go into the fetal position and scream, just like he was doing. It is absolutely ridiculous to see them show up in this manner and to be justified. I would also say another thing that is absolutely disgusting in this entire manner is the prosecutor shouldn't have to wait to the trial to find credibility issues in these police officers. The report in the charges of the video we watched, this man was charged for assault on a police officer, but then resisting without violence.
Right, that's insane, isn't it? Right.
Make it make sense.
Yeah. They can't even get the lies right. Yeah, not congruent charges for sure. We're going to keep you updated on Lakeland Police. To the pastor and community, our fight is with you. Anything we can do to amplify that, let us know at Indisputable. All right, we have an update. We reported on this when it first happened. The cop who killed Sonya Massey has been charged officially with murder. Put up the picture full mass. I'm going to give you the background and give you the update. Sean Grayson, Illinois cop, sheriff's deputy, has been officially charged with murder and stripped of his badge after shooting the 36-year-old Miss Sonya Massey to death when he was dispatched to her home in response to a possible intruder. Officers never spotted the bad guy while an innocent woman lay there at their feet, mortally wounded. Before the fatal encounter, Miss Massey herself placed a 911 call. This was in the middle of the night. She thought there was a prowler at her residence in the 2800 block of Hoover Avenue, where deputies arrived shortly after 1 a.m., according to family attorney. Moments later, it was Miss Massey who was shot. Now think about this. She pays their salary through her tax dollars. She pays those taxes so that when there's an emergency, she can call 911 and get some assistance. There's an advocate for her. There's a protection because she pays for this. She believes there's a criminal inside of her home to do harm. She calls the safety protection line that her tax dollars pay for. There may have been a prowler, we don't know. But the prowler, if there was one, left her alive. It was the 911 call that killed her. I want you to think about that for a minute. And I want you to understand that especially when Black people call 911, even when we need 911, we have to think 3, 4, 5 times harder about making that 911 call because all of our lives could be changed forever because somebody decided to misinterpret the scene. due to their bias. The reasons deputies shot Miss Massey remain completely unclear. No explanation has been given. Officials have not disclosed the circumstances that led to officers to open fire. Whether Massey was armed or how many times she was shot, nobody knows. The woman was rushed to a nearby hospital, St. John's, where she was pronounced dead at 1:47 a.m., according to the county coroner, Jim Allman. The two deputies involved were unharmed, according to the report. The state police conducted the investigation. The county state's attorney's office also opened a probe, finding that Grace's use of deadly force was not justified. A grand jury indicted the deputy on Wednesday with 3 counts of first-degree murder, aggravated battery with a firearm, and official misconduct. Massey's family watched the body camera footage Thursday, and the retracted copy is expected to be released to the public next Monday. Put him up, Jack Campbell, county sheriff. Buck stops with him. He denounced the deputy's actions in a statement on Wednesday and announced Grace's termination. Quote, "The actions taken by Deputy Grayson do not reflect the values and training of the county sheriff's office or law enforcement as a whole." Campbell wrote, "Good law enforcement officers stand with our community condemning actions that undermine the trust and safety we strive to uphold. In times like these, it is crucial for leadership across all sides and spectrums to come together to heal our community." Actually, a very fair statement. And this was a relatively swift result. But the reality is that police officer should have never been a police officer. That individual should have never been in that position of public trust. And it should have been an arrestable offense at the scene when it happened. All right, Mr. Mayor, very sad situation. Obviously, this hint of justice does not bring the woman back, but it provides an opportunity for justice to be served after a tragic event.
Yeah, and I think it speaks to, and I hear the sheriff and his response about, what it does not reflect the behavior of police officers and his department or at large, but we are obligated to be mindful of the story we just covered in Lakeland. We're obligated to be mindful of what happens in other places like California and LA. Yep. with their department. And we're also obligated not to forget that this is the police department or it's in close proximity to the police department that had secret prisons. People were disappearing in Chicago because they had a secret police department where they would just take people and leave them and do whatever they wanted to, torture them in the United States of America. So when you talk to me about this culture not being reflective of police departments, I think you're meaning police departments on TV. What you're doing is sowing discourse in communities where people don't trust police departments. And you're also indiscriminately advocating for vigilante. Because why in the hell would I call the police department at 1 o'clock when I'm gonna be dead by 1:47 when I'm the victim? When I'm worried about my life at my house, and then come to find out the person that might have stole my microwave is gone, but the police officer that might steal my life is still coming.
Yep. It's insane, isn't it? All right, we're gonna keep you updated on this. Spirit Airlines in the news again. Why? Here it is.
I'm gonna be honest, I don't know what aircraft's sitting out there, I don't know what's going on. You guys won't give me a minute. Please give me a minute, please. Guys, everybody's attention right now! Go ahead, girl. Right now! All right, now, you all want to get on this flight or not? Yes, we do. All right, so everyone's gonna shut up, and we're gonna say this once, and we're only gonna say it again because we're frustrated as hell. Yeah!
I'm sorry.
In the state of California, there's 2 people. We don't get sick, okay?
Okay, I'm sorry.
I will get you.
Man, oh man. Okay, put it a full mask. This worker has a get-ish done attitude. Okay. So 2 Spirit Airline employees were caught on camera kind of losing their patience and throwing a fit with passengers preparing to board a Las Vegas bound flight from California. So the incident happened at the Hollywood Burbank airport. This is according to Inside Edition. So the confusion began with an 8-hour delay. Now, 8-hour delay from a morning flight. So passengers, for their flight, they waited. Other passengers who were scheduled to take off from a different flight at the same gate began to gather, leading to a crowd congestion. The video starts with a view of one agent on the gate's intercom, loudly pleading for calm and order as dozens of passengers crowd the counter waiting to board. Now, I will say this, just a little bit of advice. Okay, I've been in these situations before. I understand it's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of energy. You cannot calm energy with non-calming energy. If you want to calm energy, you have to calm energy. So that's just a little bit of, consider that a free lesson in management personnel. All right. So the Spirit Airlines, they've been in the news many times, shared that 2 employees have now been suspended from their jobs for the time being. Quote, we apologize to our guests for this experience, which does not reflect Spirit's high standards for... I'm sorry, man. I'm trying to read the statement. Come on, man. Let me read. Let's put it back on. Does not reflect Spirit's high standards for guest service. All right. I got through it. While the confusion and overcrowding at the gate might have set off both agents, it would not be the first time the airline workers recently had to handle conflicts with their passengers. In June, if you remember, an argument between 4 Spirit airline workers and the passenger at the Baltimore-Washington International Airport escalated into a full-fledged fight. The workers were suspended from their jobs after the incident. All 4 of them just jumped on one guy. And then there was this little guy at the end that decided to hit him while it wasn't necessary. It was pretty bad. So last February, 2 passengers and 2 Spirit Gate agents brawled at the Philadelphia airport. Okay, the fight started after the agents told a mother and her daughter their bags were too big to be designated as carry-ons and that they had to pay a baggage fee to get on the flight. So the daughter ignored the agents and went ahead to board anyway. The fight started when one agent tried to stop her. All 4 had to answer to a private criminal complaint. Okay. It's almost like every airline has its flavor. Southwest, don't go there if you're Black. Spirit Airlines, if you got some issues that you want to get off your chest, that may not be the place to do it. Every airline seems to have something. All right, Mr. Mayor, workers have been suspended, probably will have some level of retraining perhaps, and then they get to move on. But why in the hell is Spirit Airlines? It's not that they're in the news for different things. They're in the news for basically the same thing in different airports across the country. Why?
Doc, you have more degrees than anybody I know, most of them in the science field. So that means you understand chaos theory more than most.
Yeah.
Spirit needs to call you to explain to them that you cannot, out of randomness and chaos, you cannot create order. You cannot. The more complex a system is, i.e. running an airline, the more structured it must be. And they can pretend that they have this high order. I don't see it. I've never seen it. And I'm telling people, don't put yourself through it. Here's what I would say. The only sad part about this is I feel the frustration of this worker simply because the system, talking about Spirit itself, while they claim they have this high standard, it's not shown in how they support their workers, how they build their airlines, how they shape their airplanes, and how they stick peoples in a giant can in an airplane. I am disgusted that these workers may be suspended. It seemed like the people were rallying behind this.
It did, didn't it?
Like you said, get S done attitude of this worker. So I'm sad that this worker might be in trouble when in actuality, it's Spirit that needs to be in trouble. Yeah. I don't understand why FAA and somebody else ain't taking, saying, hey, look, you guys, we don't know if we should trust you with people in the air, because this is like you said, we're seeing this a pattern all over this country, and it is tacky at this point.
Yeah. And it does seem like some level of entropy, which means that order is about to come. That's what that means, all right? It's chaos, but order will come from that chaos, hopefully. We got more on the other side. It's indisputable. Stick and stay.
Now I'm going to do something very different here and read some one-star reviews of the Young Turks on Apple Podcasts. Donnie Franchise said, pretty much it's like listening to a trash compactor. Someone else said, negative, anti-American propaganda. And others said, out of context, misquotes, typical leftists who are afraid to debate, just smear. These two would be perfect for CNN or MSLSD. Well, Donnie, you might have a point, because I feel like a trash compactor right now after taking in all those garbage reviews. But thanks for listening anyway. We are, in fact, unapologetically progressive. And if you're not ready for bold commentary, then we're not the show for you. On the Young Turks, we speak up about the issues that matter, and we want to make positive change happen. And now here's why we actually do the show. Mariel Morales said, found this podcast from the true crime podcast, Fruit Loops, and other great progressive podcasts. I've become an instant fan of the Young Turks. Great conversation, great takes, very well composed, factual podcast, very informative. Love to hear that. Z55 said, it's a joy to experience such awareness and intelligence from fascinating people. And Anna is gorgeous and brilliant. Apparently I'm just fascinating, but I'll take it. Paul for Progress said, news well delivered. Appreciate it. KOOK said, Democrats and Republicans are fair game for TYT, and if Anna or Cenk provide disinformation about anything, they will admit they made a mistake and correct it. We appreciate you noticing that we are honest. To people who actually listen to the substance of the show, thank you. Your listenership supports what we do. Leave a 5-star rating for the Young Turks on Apple Podcasts. Let's take the ratings back from the trolls. Everywhere you look, things are getting more expensive. Here at TYT, we understand this. That's why we're not gonna price gouge you or use inflation as an excuse to raise our prices. A TYT membership is not your typical subscription, but basic membership is still just $4.99. So what do you get for that price? For starters, you're getting exclusive programming, unique, exclusive designs from Shop TYT, access to a members-only chat, giveaways, emojis, and so many other amazing perks. But most importantly, you're helping to make an impact. As a TYT member, you not only help us do the shows every day, but you drive real positive change in the process. In 2017, we helped to start Justice Democrats right here on TYT. That's a group that got a dozen progressives elected into Congress. That's amazing, you did that. Your support also funds TYT's very own investigative reporting. Just recently, our reporters exposed the Fellowship Foundation and pressured lawmakers into boycotting that bigoted event. Isn't that amazing? We raised over $30,000 for Jackson, Mississippi, and delivered clean water to thousands of people in need. Our petitions, polls, and community of activists help keep the corruption of Washington in check. That's the impact of what just $4.99 a month from our members can do. And we're just getting started. Positive change doesn't occur overnight, but with your contribution, we can make it happen together. We've been here for over 22 years, and TYT remains a trusted source of truth and unfiltered progressive commentary. But we didn't achieve this alone. Our audience is an essential part of our collective story. That's just as true today as it was decades ago. But for us to carry on into the next generation, we require additional support from viewers like you. We're still here and will always be here as long as our viewers support us at tyt.com/team.
All right, welcome back. Lot of show left. Let me read some of these amazing comments. Greatly appreciate everyone who joined the conversation. All right. Solidarity Works, AKA Coming Poison Blood Vermin. Looks like the Lakeland crew beat up the white guy because they think this is what DEI was invented for. For them to say to the Fed, see, we aren't racist, violating rights in a discriminatory manner. We are equal opportunity, shooting, tasing, and beating sadists as federal law requires, end quote. So their defense is their equal opportunity. US_combat_vet. Thank you so much for that. Napoleon Dynamite was not trying to have all of that ish at her gate. Dr. the Mayor keeping it real. And Tanya Latmarot, spirit and high standards, does not belong in the same sentence. And yeah, that's a good point. Shayla Lynn 13, why did the security guard call the cops? WTF? Yeah, especially if the guy did move on as indicated. All right, got something for you. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish Karen would.
You want to call the police on them for having a barbecue on a Sunday.
I feel free! Back off!
I'm going to tell them there's an African-American man threatening my life.
Call me a message, you can't have someone that higher. That was a rolling stone, I get it from my father.
I told you we was gonna go through, right?
What's up?
Bitch, you go hold your phone, I'll give two.
Wait, what's going on?
Because you can get beat the up, bitch.
No, because you kept pulling up when we were trying to pull
We're
out.
all in line.
Everybody else is trying to get out of the
You're cutting every single other
Yeah,
person.
but your bitch
We're
can
all
get
You're
in
beat
cutting
up,
every
know
single
that.
other
We're all in
person.
line.
Your bitch can
We
get
were
beat
sitting
up.
here way longer than you.
You guys don't know how to control yourselves. What's going on? This is how it always goes. It's a line. Everybody's trying to leave. We're all trying to go at the same exit.
Lock your door, will you?
There's nothing to be worried about. It's time. There's something you need to do, like at this time, at this hour. There should be a plan for that. Yo, what are you doing?
This
What
is
are you
called
doing?
assault, no?
You're just get their license and then just 5702C54. What do you want to do? What are you doing? Why? We did nothing. There's literally nothing we did.
Sir, you cannot reason with Karenicity. You cannot come up with a logical explanation of cause and effect, sir. I know you're trying to. You're a good person. But the day you can understand Karenicity is the day you are one. So be careful here. Okay, you're in dangerous territory. Put it up full mass. Let me give you the background. So according to the poster, here are the details. Quote, my partner and I went to Zilker Park, Austin, Texas, to celebrate July 4th and see the annual fireworks display. We did the same thing a year ago in 2023. I learned the hard way that the traffic is crazy. We left about halfway through the show in an attempt to avoid some of the exit traffic, but alas, we didn't leave soon enough. The traffic was gridlocked in the parking lot. When we poured out of our space, we accepted the fact that we failed to leave the park early enough and would be stuck in the same mess as last year. At this point, the fireworks show ended, and there was a rush of people heading towards their cars in the lot. In our gridlock position, we watched the headlights of cars light up as the engines roared to life to our left and right along the lane. We watched a group of people load into the vehicle to our left. They started up their car and aggressively edged toward our vehicle. We were in a position to either let them in or pass. There was a whole lot of there was a whole line of cars already queued up behind us, and we'd already been waiting at a standstill for about 5 minutes. I didn't get a recording of this, but a male passenger exited their vehicle, walked up to the driver's side window of our car. He stared down my boyfriend through the window and with his face inches from the glass, and in a clear attempt to be intimidating, he demanded they would let his vehicle in front of us. Due to their behavior, our decision was made. We would not let them in front of our vehicle. Once it was clear that we had no intentions of letting them in front of us, one of their passengers got out of the passenger seat and approached our vehicle again. She threatened me and my boyfriend. She came around to the passenger side of my vehicle and tried the door handle while telling me I would get beat up. She banged on the glass hard enough that I was genuinely worried that she would crack it. The other passengers of the vehicle managed to wrestle her back into her seat, but she got out and banged on my window 2 more times, and each time got wrestled back into her car again. Worst part, besides being genuinely scared for my boyfriend's and my own safety, was that my kitten was in the backseat the whole time. She didn't deserve the stress. You damn right. Damn kitten want to see the fireworks with the family. Have to encounter Karen, ruin it for everybody. All right. So yeah, you all kept your cool. Big ups to you for doing so. Could have been a much worse situation. Mayor Mondale, individuals, and there's this thing going on social media right now. It's really sad when you consider what happened and how senseless it was. There's a man, he jumps out of his vehicle, runs up to a truck with a gun. He hits the guy's side of the truck with the gun. He doesn't pull the gun on him, but he has a gun in his hand, yelling at this guy right in his face at his window of his car. Man feels intimidated. Man feels threatened. The guy has a gun on him, and he shoots him in the head right there in front of everybody. Man's dead. So, and he's justified because the guy approached his vehicle, and you don't know what somebody's going to do with a gun in their hand, aggressively approaching your vehicle. But these encounters are damn near routine with Karens, where they will literally go up to a vehicle and start physically assaulting either the person or damaging the property itself. What say you?
I mean, Dr. Rich, you're an attorney. You went to law school. You know the difference between a threat and an actual, a true threat. That woman posed a true threat. So if somebody in that truck would have pulled out a gun and shot, or you know, and I'm not advocating violence, but they probably would have been justified in her actions. She looks rabid. People are trying to hold her back in the video, and she keeps coming back. Is it really that serious? And if you're in that big of a hurry that you're trying to inch in on somebody, is it really a power trip, or are you trying to exit? Because why in the hell are you out of the car now? Right. Back over there, back and forth, trying to. I don't get this. This is, like you said, this is Karenicity, and trying to understand it or put yourself in a position to be frustrated because you don't understand it might do more harm to you than it does to trying to figure out. I'll say one more thing. I don't know how many of these people got to get hurt for them to realize that this is not a smart move. I would advocate for anybody. You can road rage in your car and scream in your car with your window up, but getting out of your car, running into somebody's car in America in this moment might not be the move.
Not the move. Not the move at all. All right. Hell of a thing. Terrell Davis gets arrested, handcuffed on an airplane for asking for ice. Here's some of the explanation.
Your son wanted a cup of ice. Flight attendant didn't hear, cart moved past, and you just reached to tap the flight attendant.
Just like that. I mean, you described it. That was the only interaction I had with the flight attendant. And then once I touched him or tapped him on his shoulder, he spun back and said, "Don't hit me." Went up to first class, and we didn't see him for about 5 or 10 minutes. And then he came back and he placed a cup of ice on my son's tray, grabbed the cart, took it up to first class.
That was it.
That was it.
The FBI Los Angeles field office, which did confirm to us, they responded to this, to a reported flight incident. They boarded the plane.
And I just thought there was like a medical emergency, somebody gotten sick or something. And so again, I'm reading their magazine. And then I looked up and I'm watching them and they're coming down the aisle and they just come right up to me. And he leans over and he's got handcuffs. And I'm looking at him and he says, "Don't fight it. Don't fight it." And he puts the cuffs on me.
And your boys are there.
And my boys are there, and my daughter's there, my wife is there. And it's like, I felt so, like I was stripped of my dignity. You know, I was powerless. I couldn't do anything. I'm wondering what's going on. They didn't ask me any questions. I had no chance to even explain what happened, if anything happened. The flight attendant reporting being struck
by a passenger.
So when they came on, that's the information they had, was that that passenger struck a flight attendant.
There's some more background to this. It's very sad this happened. This is not the first time. We've reported on multiple instances like this before. Put up the picture full mass. So naturally, Terrell Davis and his family, they're looking forward to a vacation when this happened, okay? So not only is it embarrassing, it ruined a family moment, okay? This was a vacation scheduled for California when the Pro Football Hall of Famer was handcuffed and removed from a United Airlines plane for no apparent reason. Remember this quote, "I was stripped of my dignity. I was powerless. I couldn't do anything." See, that's the part I believe when individuals put, especially a Black male in this position, that is the punishment they want to see. They want to see a stripping of dignity. They want to see a person that's powerless, okay? They know good and damn well this individual is likely not going to be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law because of their lie. So the incident happened on Saturday at the end of the flight from Denver to Orange County, Cali. Mr. Davis, who's 51 years of age, was flying with his wife, his 2 sons and daughter, when one of his sons requested a cup of ice. This was during beverage service. Davis wrote this on Instagram. "A flight attendant either didn't hear or ignored his request and continued to pass our row." The post read. Davis wrote, "I calmly reached behind me and slightly tapped the attendant's arm to get his attention." Now, I've done this multiple times myself, where you have a light to tap and everybody's like, "Oh, sorry, I missed you. Not a problem. I'll come back." So again, he asked for the cup of ice for his son. He shouted, "Don't hit me," and left the cart to hurriedly approach the front of the plane. I was confused, as were the passengers in front of me who witnessed the exchange. I thought nothing of it other than this particular employee was incredibly rude and blatantly wrong, and in his accusations of me hitting him. Now, here's what I think happened after reviewing this. I think the flight attendant was well aware the disturbance he caused. I think he was well aware that his reaction was rude and that it was witnessed, and likely there would be a complaint by the individual. And in order to bolster the position this flight attendant took, they went to the extreme and called the police. So Davis said he did not see or interact with the attendant for the rest of the flight. After the plane landed in Orange County, the pilot asked passengers to remain seated, and FBI, they got better things to do, I hope. FBI and law enforcement went to Davis's seat, put him in handcuffs, and took him off the plane. With the scene recorded by multiple passengers, he wrote later during questioning, it was rightfully determined by the agents that this flight attendant was inaccurate in his accusations with the agents, and the agents profusely apologized, Davis wrote. Now, I want to say this. The reason why they are likely able to make that call there is because of witnesses, and maybe even some recording prior. But clearly, they knew no physical assault had taken place, and they did the right thing by Mr. Davis. Davis's wife, beautiful wife, Miss Tamiko Davis, knew he couldn't question why he was being handcuffed and taken away. Terrell knows better. She told CNN, highlighting the historical context of Black men interacting with law enforcement. She expressed gratitude that he had the understanding to comply despite being humiliated in front of his sons and the passengers on the plane. Quote, they didn't give him any other option, she added. And guarantee you this, if he would have resisted in the least bit, and let's understand what resistance is. If he would have advocated for himself, if he would have said he did nothing wrong, if he would have said, no, I demand somebody tell me why am I being handcuffed in front of my family, that would have caused another disturbance and possibly actual charges. So after Davis was taken off the plane in handcuffs, quote, we were just left to fend for ourselves on a flight with everyone staring at us. Imagine the embarrassment to those children. Their father did nothing wrong. His wife said to ABC's Good Morning America early Wednesday, Davis said he strives to be a positive role model for his kids and teach them to do the right thing, which makes the sight of him getting taken away in handcuffs even more heartbreaking. Quote, we did the right thing. We didn't do anything, yet I found myself with handcuffs, being paraded off a plane and being treated like a convict, Davis said. United Airlines has, quote, removed the flight attendant from duty while we closely review this matter, end quote. The company said in an email to CNN Monday evening, this is clearly not the kind of travel experience we strive to provide. And we have reached out to Mr. Davis's team to apologize, United Airlines email read. So Davis is still waiting for a direct apology from United Airlines. He told Good Morning America Wednesday, quote, they have not reached out to me to apologize, he told ABC. They have reached out to my attorney, but I have not heard from them directly. And so that to me is a problem. Now, instead of vacationing with his children, Davis is using his clout to raise awareness about mistreatment and hopefully affect change, he told GMA. CNN contacted United Airlines for comment after Davis's remarks, but United's media relations department said, quote, we have nothing to share, nothing new to share. The Davises are unsure of the flight attendant's race, but noted that Black men are often treated differently and are raising their sons to be aware of this reality. Davis wrote on Instagram, quote, the traumatizing experience of my two sons, my daughter and my wife, watching me being placed in handcuffs without due process and explanation cannot be undone. And Davis told CNN, quote, I certainly felt like that wouldn't happen if I were a white person. That's what I felt. Whether that's true or not, that's a different conversation. The FBI's LA field office acknowledged Monday that agents and law enforcement partners responded to a report of an incident with a flight that landed Saturday at Orange County's John Wayne Airport. A person who was detained for questioning, quote, was cooperative with law enforcement and was released to continue his travels, the FBI office said. The FBI does not provide details of incidents or names of people who might have been interviewed unless charges are filed publicly. This is a normative process. So Parker Steiner, manager partner of the Chicago-based law firm, is representing Davis. He told CNN this week that what happened on the flight is appalling and disturbing, to say the least. We plan on fully investigating the events that took place and are actively contacting United Airlines in this manner. Now, remember, Davis, one of only 8 running backs to rush over 2,000 yards in the NFL season, played 7 seasons with the Broncos, 1995 to 2001, helped them win 2 Super Bowls in January 1998 and then 1999, earning MVP of the first title game by rushing 157 yards and scoring 3 touchdowns, a 3-time Pro Bowler. He was inducted, rightfully so, into the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 2017. Despite his fame, Davis mentioned that he and other Black men are often treated differently and wants his sons to keep an open mind if they feel they're being perceived differently. Davis told CNN, quote, I always tell them what applies to everybody else doesn't apply to you. We're always trying to teach them there's consequences, but we are held to a different standard, and we're trying to change that, dear brother. We're trying to change that narrative. All right. Mr. Mayor, thoughts?
Yeah, what bothers me is when so many affluent actors, athletes, and famous Black men, business people forget that they Black until something like this happened, and it's tragic. It's tragic that like society has to remind us what it means to be who we are in this country and how the world see us. I would never want to be in a position. I have no kids, but I would never want to be in a position in front of people who belong to me, people who are mine, to to be responsible for, to see that happen, put in handcuffs. That's a tragic situation, and we know it all so well that this man didn't get assaulted by Terrell's hands. It was his blackness and the audacity for him to continue to ask for something. Like, I'll get to you when I get to you is basically what he needed him to understand. And if you push me too much, then you are assaulting the order of things in America. The status quo was assaulted, as it always is when Black people assert themselves. This man knew he wasn't assaulted. Like you said, he knew he was wrong and he had to take it the whole way, but for look like an idiot.
Yeah.
And it's tragic.
Yeah, and in situations like this, I highly encourage law enforcement because obviously you all are responding to an active call from an airplane before it lands. And you've been told a false narrative. That's a false police report. That is a false police report. If you hold the attendant accountable for the crime they committed, you will see less and less of this happen, all right? We got more. On the other side, it's indisputable. Stick and stay.
Magic. It's showtime. And say 45 minutes. I'm hosting today. Now I know what you're thinking, Jerry, your face is already perfect, but you know what? I still need to apply some makeup. I went through this process, right? A few years ago, when I realized that I was gonna have to wear makeup on the show. I had to go through like finding out what my undertones were. You guys know what those are? I got my MAC Cosmetics. It says SPF 15 foundation, broad spectrum. But apparently what I have is red undertones, and I think pores are not supposed to be seen. I need all these things to be confirmed for me. These sponge things don't work for me. You gotta use your hands. At least I do. That's how the magic really happens. So we're gonna go through a tutorial how to make the magic happen from beautiful to beautifuler. Let's go. I've already been moisturized. That's the first thing. But moisturization already happened. We go raw, all hands. Pick up a couple streaks. This is the guy way of putting on makeup. Look at that, dots. There's some shiny points that generally happen. First of all, here we go. You dust here. I'm putting way too much, but you dust. Oh, get the excess off. You don't want chunky powder. There's like a T-zone, I think, right? Mine is a double T-zone. Because I went middle and another cross. Make sure your nose isn't all shiny. People get on you for it. They'll say, that's not a good point you made on there, JR. Your nose is shiny. You guys are picky like that sometimes. I think that's about it, fellas and ladies. See you guys next time. Bitsies.
All right, welcome back. We got a lot of comments. Let me read some of them. Adrian Aspesha, I think. These Karens need emotional treatment, Dr. Mayor. They need professional help. Yeah. 36 Chambers _Dragon. I've run into TD in the airport, and he's a very polite and nice guy. Even when I was a kid and a huge Broncos fan, and I was probably annoying, this football legend is such a nice guy. And his family doesn't deserve any of this nonsense. Yeah, I mean, he's one of the individuals, he really tries to accept the reality that he is a role model to some, rather than reject it and live recklessly. So I applaud him for that. C. Michael Henson, thank you, C. Michael. Wait, they're trying to leave a park? The way Karen was acting, I thought they were in the late night drive-thru at McDonald's. It basically the same thing. Yeah. Malcolm X, the FBI questioned other passengers and United crew members for apologizing and letting Davis go. Yeah. And at some point, they're going to have to start charging flight attendants who do this with making a false police report, period. And Green New Deal of Dragon. Is this the same people that called the cops on the judge? I can't remember which airline. I know Southwest and United, they've been in the news for very similar things for a while. All right. Well, a whole lot of signatures. 1,400 Black women have signed a letter condemning Dems who are against Biden, put up the picture full mask. So per The Hill, more than 1,400 Black women and allies have indicated their support for President Biden and Vice President Harris. Now, this story has a lot of twists and turns. You don't want to miss a beat here, okay? So in a letter released Thursday, it highlights the fact that millions of Americans cast ballots for Biden and Harris in the primary. The women said attempts to change the ticket, disregard, and circumvent the will of millions of voters who participated in a democratic process. That's something that the mayor made a point of last time we discussed this. The letter is signed by Black powerhouses like Carol Mosley Braun, first African-American woman elected to the Senate, my former mayor of Atlanta, Keisha Lance Bottoms, and a good friend. You have Melanie Campbell, chair of the Power Ballot Action Fund, and many others, okay? So the number of 1,400 women may seem small in the context of national politics, but it's not just 1,400 women, it's 1,400 women in executive leadership position and highly influential, okay? That was by design. So The Hill reports their letter follows weeks of Democrats calling for the ousting of Biden, wanting Biden to remove himself from the ticket after a disastrous debate performance. So this week, you had more. Representative Adam Schiff, Democrat out of California, added his voice to the cause while reports surfaced of former Speaker Nancy Pelosi and Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer pressuring him to drop out as well. Some Senate Democrats have also raised concerns about the Democratic National Committee's plan to certify Biden's nomination for president ahead of the August convention. But the letters, the signatures argue, those who signed it argue the following, quote, the Biden-Harris administration is running on a solid record of historic legislation or legislative accomplishments and a commitment to finish their agenda to improve the lives of all Americans, protect our rights, freedoms, and democracy, the letter states. Quote, further, we believe it is unfair and disruptive to judge President Biden for having a bad 90-minute debate performance against a serial liar who wants to destroy our democracy and be a dictator and chief. And I'm going to add to that, the commentators who did the debate, they're not bad. They were just bad that night. And by design, because basically they had to agree with the Trump campaign to not press Trump on his lies in order for Trump to be there. So obviously they agreed to this, which made them look very bad that night. They didn't get fired from their jobs, but they were bad by every estimation, every matrix, every measure. They did not challenge the blatant lies that were told on that stage. Okay, so history is a great teacher, according to the letter, and has taught us that a divided house will fall. The women wrote Thursday. As Black women, we are uniquely aware of the very real threat a second Trump term poses to our country and especially to our community. But this is not a moment to give in to fear. Instead, we must unify around our deep belief in our values and our ability to effectively engage voters and win up and down the ballot in 2024. Biden has been hoping to rebuild support among Black voters as his numbers fall with the demographic. Though a new survey released this week shows 64% of Black women said they will vote for Biden if the election were held today, strategists have warned that continued infighting within the party will drive his support down. That's correct. That is correct. It will. Quote, history also reflects that Black women are the most reliable voting bloc for Democrats. When Black women vote in record numbers, Democrats win the White House, U.S. Senate, U.S. House, governorships, state legislatures, mayor's races, and other local races across the nation. When Black women lead, organize, mobilize, encourage, and influence our families, spouses, partners, nieces, nephews, and neighbors. to own their power and vote. Democrats win. The letter continued. They are correct. Now is the time for the Democratic Party to stop the attacks against their own presidential nominee that, quote, we the people voted for, and focus on defeating the real threat to our democracy, and that is Donald Trump, the letter concluded. Now, I got another twist and turn here. Now, remember, the genesis of this is not simply the presidential election. The genesis of this are local congressional races per district inside of states, some Senate races per state, and then you also have donors, money. Some people have decided to take the money away because of Biden being in the race. So these are Democratic donors, a lot of money. So per the Independent, another twist and turn. New York rep, AOC, went on Instagram live early on Friday morning to share her thoughts on Joe Biden's floundering re-election campaign and warning that many of those who want the president to drop out of the race they also want Vice President Kamala Harris off the ticket too. Here it is.
I'm gonna say what a lot of these folks aren't saying. I'm just gonna say it. If you think that there is consensus among the people who want Joe Biden to leave, that they will support Vice President Harris, you would be mistaken. And I'm gonna say that because if they're gonna come out and say all their little things on background off the record, but they're not gonna be fully honest, I'm gonna be honest for them. I'm in these rooms. I see what they say in conversations. A lot of them are not just interested in removing the president. They are interested in removing the whole ticket.
How, Sway? How? Okay. Host, commentator Reese Colbert, who's also a colleague of mine at Sirius XM Radio, would take to X writing, quote, Democratic donors and elites have a choice if President Biden steps aside. Choose whiteness or choose democracy. Stepping over the most qualified person to be POTUS, Vice President Kamala Harris, for a white is right ticket would be catastrophic. I know many Dems look at our votes as given. But FAAFO, around and find out if you want to just how huge of a miscalculation that would be. She elaborated in this video. Here it is.
Y'all must be out your mind on that crack pipe if you think for 1 second that y'all gonna be able to skip over Vice President Kamala Harris and it's on an all-white ticket, a Josh Shapiro, Whitmore ticket, whatever the that ain't happening, Captain. Not on our watch. Listen, let me tell you something to you Democratic donors, you elites. You're gonna have to choose whiteness or democracy. They not gonna go hand in hand this election. If you choose whiteness, Trump wins. That's what the Trump people are choosing. They're choosing whiteness. If you choose democracy, we win. An all-white ticket has lost for the past 24 years for Democrats. The only ticket that wins is a diverse ticket. And you for sure are not skipping over the Vice President of the United States, the most qualified person to run for president and to be president outside of President Biden right now. There's no database, evidence-based. There's no record accomplishments-based argument for skipping over Vice President Kamala Harris. 79% of Democrats support her replacing Biden if he were not to be the nominee. So this isn't even something that the people are asking for. And polls show that she can beat Donald Trump. And if we got behind her, she would be blowing his ass out the water even more. So fuck around and find out if you want to. If you want to go all in on whiteness, then fly that Klan flag. But fuck around and find out what's going to happen if you fuck over black people and you fuck over Vice President Kamala Harris.
Her analysis is correct. And if you look at the modern context of our political back and forth, George W. Bush gets elected. Older white male, not the most brilliant crayon in the crayon box. America gets tired of it. What do? It's a contrast. They elect a brilliant, young, black Barack Obama. President Obama gets in. is in for 2 terms, 8 years. Country has an opportunity to elect a woman. They elect the most disagreeable older white male they can find. Once again, a contrast to the ticket. Now, what's a contrast to Trump? The contrast to Trump is diversity. That's your contrast. That's your motivator. That's your friction. That's the point. If you come with this milquetoast BS, it will deflate any excitement that you have from those who will vote for you in record numbers. You have no path forward. Mr. Mayor, I think strategically they are correct here. And if, my goodness, I can't believe they're even considering it. If Biden is not there and Vice President Kamala Harris wants it, how in the hell do you muscle her away? Because you can't argue she's too old. You can't argue that she can't debate. You can't argue that she doesn't have the stamina to be president for 4 years.
Yeah, it's not about that anyway. I mean, like, there's this racist term that we use on our side of the aisle, and it's called electability. People always use electability when they want to turn their back on Black candidates. And this is what they're doing right now. They're pitting an argument that is not grounded in data, it's not grounded in historical evidence, it's not grounded in anything other than what white people feel at their core. Here's the problem. White people have not been the majority of Democratic base voters, percentage-wise, since Black people have been allowed to sit at the party. In 1968, when we got seated, when Fannie Lou Hamer and those likes from Mississippi were able to be seated at the convention, we saw white people run from the party and not been a majority since then. I find it absolutely disgusting that on our side of the aisle, we say we are tired of money and influence over politicians. But right now we're trying to let George Clooney and the likes have a voice that is outsized when they don't represent the majority of our base voters. George Clooney, because he gave $27 million, think he has the right, or raised $27 million, he has a right to tell a party to drop the president. If this was happening, if a lobbyist was saying to a candidate or an elected official that, hey, this is my point of view and you about to push my point of view or else, we would be on fire. So how is this different? This is a rich white man who does not represent the party base going against 14 million voters who voted in the primary to elect this candidate. I also think it's disingenuous for Nancy Pelosi, who, I don't know if the world know it, is older than Joe Biden, Chuck Schumer, who talked to this man on a regular basis for the past 40 years probably, for them to sit and act like they just found out Joe Biden stutters and is old. He's been getting old since he was born. He was gonna be this age 4 years ago when they nominated him. It ain't like he just got to this age. It ain't like he just started stuttering. Give me a break. I also think it is absolutely delusional and disrespectful to the entire voting process to say that we can choose a candidate now 2 months out, 2.5 months out before people start voting, and that person has enough time to get elected. If that is the case, why do we spend 1.5 years running for president if 2 months is enough? Yeah. It's disgusting and it's greedy and it's a power grab that is absolutely highlighted. And I would tell anybody to say it's only 1,400 sisters whose name is on that to think again, because name a poll that is including 1,400 Black people.
That's true.
And that is bigger than most polls size by themselves. Right. So you have 1,400 Black people, Black women of influence saying this, then we're talking about sample size. And if you use that as a testament of what Black people feel in this country, then white people ought to shut the hell up before they cause a real problem. And then we get to hear all the Black people saying what was bleeped out in that video from the sister that works with you at Series.
You know, you make a great point because most of the national polls only will survey about 1,000 respondents that actually provide answers. And so this is indicative of a significant trend and feeling, a sentiment inside of the Black community. We're going to give you updates as they come. We got more on the other side. It's indisputable, stick and stay.
Magic. It's showtime. And say 45 minutes. I'm hosting today. Now I know what you're thinking, Jerry, your face is already perfect, but you know what? I still need to apply some makeup. I went through this process, right? A few years ago when I realized that I was gonna have to wear makeup on the show. I had to go through like finding out what my undertones were. You guys know what those are? I got my MAC Cosmetics. It says SPF 15 foundation, broad spectrum. But apparently what I have is red undertones, and I think pores are not supposed to be seen. I need all these things to be confirmed for me. These sponge things don't work for me. You gotta use your hands. At least I did. That's how the magic really happens. So we're gonna go through a tutorial how to make the magic happen from beautiful to beautifuler. Let's go. I've already been moisturized. That's the first thing. But moisturization already happened. We go raw. All hands. Pick up. Couple streaks. This is the guy way of putting on makeup. We got dots. There's some shiny points that generally happen. First of all, here we go. You dust here. I'm putting way too much, but you dust. Oh, get the excess off. You don't want chunky powder. There's like a T-zone, I think, right? Mine is a double T-zone. Because I went middle and another cross. Make sure your nose isn't all shiny. People get on you for it. You know, say, that's not a good point you made on there, JR. Your nose is shiny. You guys are picky like that sometimes. I think that's about it, fellas and ladies. See you guys next time. Bitsies.
All right, welcome back. A lot of show left. Let me read a couple of comments. Jonathan says there wasn't even a real primary, no debates. Some states didn't even have a primary, like Florida. Yeah. Jojo_Dragon Doc, how are we not surprised they're going to overlook Harris? Why can't it be Harris Whitmer, Harris Shapiro? They should hire Harris Cortez. There you go. 2 women on the ticket to contrast all these anti-women laws being implemented. That would be a hell of a contrast. You are so correct. All right. LA Sheriff's Department. They are monitoring a reporter who exposed deputy gangs. Here it is.
The LA County Sheriff's Department started monitoring me after I wrote the history of deputy gangs. That's according to about 800 pages of emails they had to give me after I sued them for those records. That included direction to monitor my social media accounts, a crime report identifying me as a suspicious person, and my information being sent to the department unit responsible for monitoring license plates. This also wasn't limited to me. Several accounts that promoted my work online were also marked for monitoring. LASD created a 29-page dossier on at least one activist who promoted my work, which included he and his family and his roommates' social security numbers, home addresses, and personal phone numbers. The Sheriff's Department said in a statement that, quote, "We are not monitoring your social media accounts." But in that same statement, they also said that, quote, "In order for us to best serve our community, our employees read news articles and social media posts from various sources." They also just didn't respond to questions about the specifics of what is in these emails. I also want to mention that since I've reported on deputy gangs, I've received numerous death threats, like this one. Quick content warning, this threat is very explicit. I've always wondered if these were connected to the department, and these emails seem to suggest that it is.
Wow, what courage. And these cops are cowards. Put up the picture full mass. Journalist Cerise Castle, Miss Castle of the Los Angeles Public Press, went into detail about the surveillance in her report. So she wrote, in March of 2021, I published a 15-part series detailing the history of deputy gangs, cops who are gang members inside of the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department. Email records released by LASD revealed that my work immediately attracted the attention of dozens of department personnel and triggered direct surveillance by the Sheriff's Department of at least one activist promoting my work. Those emails stem from a request I made on October of 2021 when I requested electronic records of any communications made by LASD that contained my name. The department denied my initial request, which prompted me to sue the sheriff's department in a civil court for the records. After nearly 2 years, LASD opted to settle the matter and turn over the records. More than 50 members of the sheriff's department sent more than 800 pages of emails about me in the course of just 7 months. Since reporting on deputy gangs, I have received numerous personal threats of death and rape. Other threats have been directed at my family and loved ones. These threats have arrived via direct message on social media, email, and anonymous text. I have been pulled over while reporting on the sheriff's department. I have seen patrol vehicles stationed outside of my house. These emails confirm LASD monitored me, a reporter, performing her work, protected by the First Amendment of the U.S. Constitution, as well as other people they consider to be in my orbit. It's not clear the extent of which this is still happening. I have filed similar requests to the original filed in 2021, but have not received the records. The first email in the packet I received was generated via a request for comment I made on March 16th, 2021, following up on a previous request for comment for my then upcoming series on deputy gangs. Although the department never responded to my request, Deputy Abe Bedoyan, then of the Sheriff's Information Bureau, forwarded my email to several upper-level personnel 13 minutes after it was received. In his message, he wrote that he knows, quote, below allegations are currently being investigated, but I wanted to forward this to you, end quote. So recipients included then Captain Jose G. Mendoza, an alleged member of the Bandidos deputy gang. He has been since promoted to chief. 5 days later, on March 21st, 2021, the first 3 parts of the series were published. The following day, online chatter about the reporting on Twitter X caught the attention of Tracy Stanfield, then a crime analyst with the sheriff's department, who flagged and sent the articles to former deputy Carrie Robles Placencia, an alleged associate, once again, of the Bandidos deputy gang. According to a job posting for the position, a crime analyst analyzes, prepares reports, and disseminates technical information and data relevant to actual and anticipated criminal activity to operational personnel to increase the effectiveness of patrol deployment, crime prevention, and apprehension of suspects. The sheriff's department declined to comment on how Stanfield came to the conclusion that doing work as a reporter is in line with criminal activity. Stanfield also has since retired, according to LSAD, and did not respond to comment. 2 days later, crime analyst Kimberly Dunn of the Records and Identification Bureau emailed a team of crime analysts working within the Sheriff's Information Bureau with instructions to, quote, keep an eye on me. Freelance journalist Ms. Castle is currently working on a series of articles that started being released yesterday. The project is called A Tradition of Violence, the History of Deputy Gangs in the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, she wrote. Just something to keep an eye on, to monitor what else she posts as part of this project, and for potential doxing purposes as well. In response to the findings of this story, the Sheriff's Department said in a statement that, quote, we're not monitoring your social media accounts. Since taking office, Sheriff Luna has expressed the importance of transparency and the freedom of the press. Yet, in that same statement, they also said that, quote, in order for us to best serve our community, our employees read news articles and social media posts from various sources. The department is interested in news coverage from local and national media outlets that cover LASD and current events that may impact our community organization. We also take an interest in elected officials and numerous community organizations. Don's email is the first of a series of communications where the Sheriff's Department begins to circulate my personal information, including photos and social media profiles, as well as addresses and phone numbers of people LASD personnel believe to be connected to me amongst the department. Put them up. So you got Sheriff Robert Luna currently runs the department, replacing the disgraced former sheriff, who was at the center of the deputy gang scandal. Here's what's telling more so than anything else. Not only their adversarialness to her, but also their unwillingness to actually respond thoughtfully about what's happening inside of the department. Not one correspondence was about cleaning up the mess. Not one. Mr. Mayor, thoughts here?
And there's a continuation of the first two stories from this day, and also a story that Black people have been telling a long time. There's something corrupt going on in the police department. And even if they're not as organized all over this country, talking about the gangs that exist within police departments, we see this gang behavior. And of course she's receiving threats because they see her as the ops. And when gangs see you as the ops, then they spy on you. They stalk you. Here's what I would tell the community. If you care about journalism, if you care about this person's life, you gotta put a close eye on her because they will definitely try to eliminate her as a target. And this is scary to believe that it happens, but this is not new behavior in this country from police departments, and we can't pretend that it's not more normal than we hear about.
Yep. And she's doing the right thing by making sure this is very public. It is publicized, and she's not backing down. She's going to provide every bit of commentary required in order to stand up for justice. I'm very proud of you. Anything we can do at Indisputable, let us know. Mr. Mayor, always a pleasure, dear brother, having you on the program. Tell people how they can follow you, check out your great work.
Yeah, man, I'm Mondale Robinson on all social media platforms. I'm also on Rebel HQ and leading Black Male Voter Project. Thank you, Doc.
Thank you, dear brother. As always, remember, take care of yourself, take care of each other, take care of the planet. Remember, the truth is always indisputable.